Blessings. This is Raisa Kiwala, the divorce Muslim coach. And this this week's session of our weekly wisdom, I'm actually pre-recording. I know that I usually go on live with you every week. This week I'm actually out of town and am at a conference at actually a certification training. And so I wanted to pre-record our topic for this week so you could listen to it and then share your insights and questions with me in the comments. And our topic for today, in terms of moving forward, moving on with your life, even while you are still having to deal with some of the things that you dealt with in the unhealthy marriage that you're still having to deal with now with your ex, whether it's been abuse or whether it's controlling behavior or manipulation. It's still sucking and draining some of your energy and keeping you stuck or making you feel as if you're stuck. And this topic, why I wanted to address it, is because it stemmed from one of the questions I asked in our group, and one of the comments or the perspective that came out of it was that someone really felt that it hurt their confidence or their ability to make progress in different areas of her life. So this was a belief that this person has about themselves, having to deal with, the emotional manipulation, the abuse, and the gaslighting, the belittling. All of that was from keeping her stuck. So the feeling she had was that because of the fact that she's stuck with this ex of hers forever, because she has children with them, and I can totally relate because I have a similar situation. I have to deal with my ex, who is also a person that really does belittle and controls and manipulates and has those narcissistic qualities. And so it this came about because of what was shared in the group about seeing and interacting with her ex is so triggering, which makes sense that it sets her back from whatever progress she's making in terms of moving forward in her life. It's kind of like two steps forward, one step back, and you find yourself falling into the same patterns that were existent in the marriage. And it can be very frustrating, and it feels as if there's no way to move forward. And what else was shared was that is wanting to have a quick and easy way to undo all the damage. Well, there is a way to undo the damage in terms of moving forward. We can't go into the past and redo that, but we can minimize the damage from getting exacerbated going forward, right? But there's no quick and easy, method for this, because we're talking about things that have been programmed and ingrained in your thinking, in terms of your subconscious thinking, which leads to your behavior patterns, right? It's a dynamic between you and your ex that has happened for so long, and unless and or until those behavior patterns and the thinking patterns that causes that behavior pattern in that dynamic changes, then the outcome won't change. It'll just be like, on that hamster wheel of going forward in the same type of cycle and dynamic, even though they're not married, right? And it just didn't happen in a very quick and easy way. So it's not going to be that it's going to be solved in a quick and easy way. You just be patient with yourself and allow yourself the grace and the opportunity to evolve. So this statement of feeling that, okay, I'm stuck with this man and I have to deal with him, and he, like, he's holding me back. I can't make the progress, or even the progress that I'm making is it is stopping, or it's like I move a little bit forward and then I get taken aback because every time I get triggered, right? And feeling like this person has this power to minimize or hinder your progress is a belief. And when we, that's a belief that is in the background as, an operating system, if you will, right? This is the thinking, and then the thinking leads to feelings, and feelings lead to behavior. So it ends up being a behavior pattern, and most of the time it's unconscious, so you're not even aware of how you're showing up, or you're not conscious of how you're showing up in that dynamic, right? Because it's like, doing the same thing over and over again. Of course you're going to get the same outcome, right? Only when there is a disruption in the pattern, and then it has the potential to cause to create a different outcome, right? So the first thing I want to offer here is really to start challenging your thinking. Start going a little bit deeper into what is your thinking around your progress. Does this person really have the power to stop you? Does this person really have the power to hinder your progress, right? Or to affect your confidence? And ask yourself that. You can say yes, you can say no, but you don't have to give him that power over the progress in your life. And it comes from how we are thinking about it, right? Because how we think about something is how we're going to show up, and we may not even be aware of it. So I'm asking you, and I'm challenging and inviting you to really get conscious of your thinking around this, starting with not believing that he has the power to hinder you or to hold you back. And here I also want to step in and share that a lot of times it's thought that, okay, well, this is what happened in the marriage, and you're no longer married, so you don't have to deal with those behavior patterns. But if your method and your form of communication hasn't shifted or changed, then you're going to be communicating and interacting in the same way as how your default patterns. And you do have to communicate in terms of raising your children, and doing what's best for them. So it's finding new ways of approaching, communicating, and being able to move forward in this new dynamic of being divorced, but still being parents. And so, contrary to popular belief, time doesn't fix that. It's not an ideal way to move forward, to allow time to just solve the problem on its own, right? It's not actually the time, but it's actually the thing, how you're thinking about it changes over time, right? Your thinking starts to shift. The thinking that you're stuck with this narcissist man who belittles you and makes you think that you are at fault, blaming you for everything, causing you to doubt yourself, right? He can't make you think anything. Your thinking is independent and free. And that is why when we're conscious of our thinking, we are really accountable for our own thinking, right? And so, and same thing with the doubting self, or believing what he's saying or how he's belittling you. That's his opinion, and it's not truth. So when the trigger happens and you get triggered by something he says or that he does, recognize that it invokes a feeling within you. And that feeling or that emotion, right? It clouds having clarity. And that feeling and that emotion could be either anger or fears or guilt. I know a lot of times when I would interact with my ex, he would always phrase things in a way that would cause me to fear. Say something about my children, fear, being in trouble, and I don't know by whom, but it would cause a lot of fearful thinking. And then when you're in that mode of that emotional thinking, and this time we're talking about fear here, any type of emotional thinking, you're not thinking from a clear space. And so, and this reaction that's happening is so subconscious that you may not even be recognizing it, but you can feel whether it's the frenzy or the upset or just you're feeling it physically in your body. If you're not able to recognize what the thinking is around those feelings yet. So I think the first thing is to recognize that it's invoking a feeling within you, and that feeling is coming from your thinking in the moment. It's not coming from what he's saying, but it's coming from your thinking around what he's saying, right? And so that's the first step in order for you to recognize your actions. Like how are you going to respond? Because that is what needs to shift. And you can have no control over him, and you can't get him to change. You can only change what your response has been in this dynamic, in this interaction. And so the only way you can change that instead of reacting is consciously responding. So once you start recognizing how you're feeling, and that based on how you're feeling, that's how you're reacting, you can start, what you're doing is you're disrupting the pattern right there. And the neural networks and the neurology behind your thinking is so strongly programmed, if you will, that once you start disrupting it, you can start thinking of new ways and different ways of thinking about the situation. And then that affects how you respond to the situation. Because if you're thinking about it a different way, you're going to have a different response. And so this is the way out, to be able to move forward with hope and undo and just release the doors up to Allah's promise of that when we that when we start making a change within ourselves, then that opens the door to up the door to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changing our situation and our circumstance, right? We know that to be a promise. So this is a way in how we can navigate the situation with more clarity, more neutrality, rather than responding from an emotionally heightened space, which is actually what keeps us stuck in the same cycle, the same dynamic. That's like, okay, well, I'm no longer married to this man, but the same patterns and the ways that we have been communicating is still causing outcome. And so you can start that change with yourself. And this is exactly what I do, and this is exactly my expertise in helping women to understand their own thinking, their own patterns of thinking, and their own patterns of behavior, and how they show up in that dynamic. Because remember, there's two parts here. There's your part, and then there's his part. And when you can change your part, then that changes what happens as the outcome, that changes what happens in the dynamic, right? Because you're contributing to it and he is as well. But you only have control over what you are contributing, right? So I hope that was helpful. I hope that it gave you some insight into what the starting process is. And if you want more information about this, or you want to go in more deeply in your particular situation, reach out to me, share in the comments what you're taking away and what has been helpful, and any additional questions you have. And I'm here, and I can't wait to talk to you guys soon. Take care. Peace and blessings.